All right, folks. God bless you guys, and welcome to This Is It Before the Fire. Guys, tonight's video, this testimony, I almost don't know how to describe the levels of supernatural. These are miracle after miracle after miracle. You're going to see so many things in this video that are so impossible. I mean, I'm having trouble just dealing with it, to be honest. It's like, and it'll paint a picture of what's coming. It'll convince you where we're at in the end of the world timeline. I'll just let you watch yourself. All the stuff that I've been doing, the videos, of the containers and everything that I did that the Lord had me do, and I documented it all, is all coming together in a way that is almost unbelievable. The meanings of the words from the Strong's Concordance, the way the enemy uses them to convey meanings. They'll pick a number that has a word associated. Well, the Lord did a few of those things himself that are in this video that I literally almost can't believe it. It's that wild. So let me just start with a short little video. What I'm going to do right here is I'm going to show you a little video I took. I went and tested the equipment. I have camera equipment that's for Grand Junction, the parachute. I have audio on the camera so we can YouTube live. So I'm testing all this stuff out, and the Lord told me document it. So I went to a drop zone and I started testing equipment, and my friend Trey went with me, who I used to skydive with. We just made a couple little, goof off videos, and that's what we're doing. But little did I realize some of the pictures that Trey took would be so significant that it's just impossible. Even the way it happened, like Trey took my phone and he said, you know what, stand over there. So I moved the location, and he took a picture of me in front of a TV behind me that gives you the flight, the flights that are going for different jumps. And everything is so unbelievably significant. I almost can't process this. I'm not joking. There's so many miracles in this video, it's almost not processable mentally. It'll leave you like, okay, so let me just start with a little video from the drop zone testing the equipment. And then I did a little slideshow where I documented some of the pictures and some of these impossible things that happen in the slideshow. Then after the slideshow, I'm going to stop and I'm going to go through one folder where I documented Grand Junction. And it's all starting to come together now, guys. And, Grand Junction is the coming together of two shipping containers, one that's already there. The Lord told me what to do with it, what to put in it. The base that had to be built in Grand Junction had to be 4x4x4. And then Michael looked that up, and it meant perfect love. So the container that represents the bride of Christ is already in Grand Junction at the corner of Rainbow and Casimir, which means proclamation of peace. Casimir also means to take the glory from another king in battle. So we have one container that's sitting there on a base that's perfect peace. And then we have another container that's going there, and we have to build two footings to put that one on, because it's going to share one of the footings or two of the footings with the container that's already there. And they're going to be side by side, but we're going to use the block that the first one's on to share the second one. We're going to do two more blocks, so they sit side by side. And the Lord gave me very specific instructions. Again, he told me I want those blocks to be 3x4x4. All that means is we don't have to dig down 2 feet. We only have to dig down 1 foot. So there's only a foot of concrete below ground, and then above ground it's, the 2 feet. So it's 3x4x4. The other ones are 4x4x4. Okay. Without trying to explain this all, let me just play the video, and then we'll get into all the supernatural stuff. So here we go. Here's a video from the drop zone. Let's go ahead and play this. See, Trey's getting current today. We're testing all the equipment for Grand Junction because we have that canopy that says V for Vengeance. It's going to get jumped. So I've been tuning the skills. Here's the DZ behind me. If I step out in the sun, it'll get real hard to see. There's the LZ behind me. Plane takes off over there. And manifest behind me. Okay, so we're getting Trey current today. So that'll give me a target. So anyway, Trey's getting current, and he's coming in just a minute. Thought we would memorialize it for him. Again, this is all getting ready for Grand Junction to jump that canopy that says V for Vengeance. It's so amazing that came right on the heels of the Madonna with the big X on her coming out of the pit. What are the odds? There's no odds to cover that base. I'm going to go out to the landing zone and get Trey coming in. Go get Trey, Miss Current. This is Johnny, and there's Trey. I did tandem school with Trey. And now he's getting recurrent.
Yeah, man.
My bounce is better than his bounce. I just wanted to record that so we know. Mine looked cooler. He got more metal, but I got more internal injuries. But all in all, on the scale, I won. I pretty much won. The packing room. There's all the packers. Packing room. Going to see Trey. Trey is getting current right now. And there he is. I'll get over here in the shade. There's Trey in the purple student gear. So, Trey, what's it like to be wearing student gear there, buddy? I'm John Clark with WKTA. What's it like to be wearing student gear this far into your career?
Humbling.
Okay, I'm going to pause it there for a sec. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go through this little slideshow and just show you a couple things that, I mean, when I heard the Lord tell me to look up the meaning of the numbers behind me on the screen for the caravan load that I was going on. By the way, the plane that should have been flying that day was a twin-engine Otter. I was like, why are they flying the caravan today? They really need the twin-engine Otter to handle the load of skydivers that was there that day. And they eventually did fire it up, but the point is, it was really odd that the caravan was flying. It was hard for me to believe that there could be a number on a wall behind me on a screen, that the Lord would actually tell me, hey, look up the number behind you on the screen. It's significant. I don't do a lot of that. I mean, I see that kind of stuff every now and then, and the Lord will tell me to do stuff like that every now and then. But, I'm not some like, oh, look at what my receipt was. I just don't go do all that. He doesn't lead me to. Sometimes he leads other people and that happens. However, I'm very just kind of reserved about stuff unless I hear the Lord tell me definitively to do it. Because I don't want to start doing stuff like that on your own. If you start doing that stuff like that on your own, then you're kind of making up your own thing. I wait till I hear the Lord say, I want you to do this. So, again, with the numbers that were behind me on the wall, the 1703, 1704, 1711, again, Trey was going to take my picture somewhere else. I was like, here, just take a picture. And he said, oh, go over here so I have some behind you. So, weird circumstance. Like, instead of just going, okay, click, 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 he was like, well, here, stand over here. And it's click 1703, click 1704, click 1711. I wouldn't think in a million years, like, who cares about the numbers behind me? However, I heard the Lord in my spirit say, look up the meaning of the numbers. I already know 17, what 17 means. 17 means complete victory over your enemy. I know what 3 is, Abaddon, the angel of the bottomless pit. So 1703 is complete victory. 17 is complete victory over your enemy. 3 is Abaddon. 1704, complete victory over your enemy. Again, number 4 is also Abaddon, place of destruction. And then, so I'm sitting there just looking at those numbers, and I already know those, but I heard the Lord say, no, look it up in Strong's. And then I was like, really? Am I just hearing things? Okay, y'all have seen the testimonies for the containers, the shipping containers. Remember the first one, the Lord told me, put a chess set in it. Remember that? And I videotaped it, and it's still part of the court record. So I was like, well, the Lord told me to put a chess set, put the black king laying down, put an hourglass on it, and I videotaped it. These things just came to pass to where everything became significant. Now, if you don't want a spoiler alert for the Godzilla movie or the X-Men movie, then you don't watch this video, because the Lord sent me to these movies, and I thought, that's weird. You're telling me to go, I ended up at Godzilla, and I did not want to go to Godzilla. And the opening scene, I was like, there's literally a giant bug that hatches from underneath a pyramid. Remember the night I got saved? The pyramid is your enemy. Remember, those who try and hide their plans from the Lord, they turn everything upside down. Who is they? The bugs from the pit. So to go to a movie that you had no intention of seeing, and the opening scene is bugs coming out, a giant bug coming out of a pit from underneath a pyramid, that's a pretty weird thing. And then I wrote down the numbers in the movie. I wrote them down. Everything was significant. It was unbelievable. Everything was in Strong's. And I kind of put it off to the side and just said, you know what? I'll just deal with that later mentally. Well, after I went to the drop zone, the day I went to the drop zone that you just saw, the Lord told me to go watch the X-Men movie, Dark Phoenix. And I asked Trey, you want to go to X-Men? Trey was kind of wiped out from skydiving, and he said, I'm going to pass. Lord told me go see the X-Men movie. And I was like, all right. Yeah, I was kind of wanted really to come home and just chill out. But I heard the Lord tell me to go do it, so I went and did it. I was just like, oh my Lord. Impossible. Okay, so now let's get into the testimony part, and I'm going to just run you through some stuff. Y'all know that the container's at the corner of Rainbow and Casimir. Here's where Trey told me, walk over here and let me take a picture of you in front of the screen. That's Caravan in 7581, 17 minutes, 3 seconds. That's the call. That's like, so if you're on that jump, you got 17 minutes and 3 seconds. Okay, I wouldn't think anything about that. But after I got home and I got these pictures, the Lord told me, look it up. 1703 means everyone will receive of your words. Well, if you're a prophet and you're speaking for the Lord and you're ringing the bell, telling everybody, hey, the end of the world's coming, a bunch of bugs are coming out of the pit, I'm just warning you. I showed you the largest altar in the world. It's a big bug harvesting semen. I'm showing you all this proof. Hunted for dinner, 400 clothing line, slush cult clothing line, all the lurking class clothing line. It's all the same girls with tattoos on their vaginas that are mandibles of bugs right where their vagina is. I'm showing you all this stuff. I'm showing you tons of it. So it's pretty weird when you're standing there and you're testing out the canopy that says V for vengeance, and it's a big red X, and you're out there just testing your gear for Grand Junction, and you look up and you're standing in front of 1703, and it says, everyone shall receive of thy words. Well, I guess if you're working for the Lord God and you told everybody what was going to happen and a lot of people didn't listen, well, that would be a pretty accurate thing. And so then I thought, well, that's kind of weird. Hang on, let me go to this next one. Okay, now I turn the lights on my helmet. So Trey's going to take the next picture, and I reach up and I have a couple different sets of lights, and I turn on the bright headlights on my helmet. This is a helmet that I basically designed for the stuff I'm going to be doing. And I turn on these lights, and it says 1704. Well, come out of the darkness into the light with glad eye. Well, once I got saved, the night I got saved, what did I tell y'all? Water and light came down in me. And I was filled. I was anointed with the Holy Spirit. So it was no longer I that lived, but Christ in me that took up residency in my host body. So let's see what 1704 means. 1704. It means, I will dwell in them and walk among them, and I will be their God, and they will be my people. Definition, to walk about in or among. Usage, I walk about in a place, I live among, am conversant with. The night I got saved, an angel told me, Jonathan, that little voice you hear, that's God speaking to you now. Learn to trust his voice. And every little thing you get to eat, and every little thing you get to drink, thank God. Because it all comes from him. So now, I'm sitting there looking at these numbers going, well, 17 means complete victory over your enemy. 3 means Abaddon. 17 means complete victory over your enemy. 4 means Abaddon, place of destruction. And I'm thinking, well, that's kind of interesting. I'm out there jumping a canopy that has a big red X, V for vengeance. And what it's, the vengeance is against the mother goddess system that is the X chromosome. Male chromosome, sex chromosome is XY. Female is XX. That's why Madonna had an X on her eye and an X on her body. Meaning that the all-seeing eye, that female eye, and that's the all-seeing eye, that has taken over the host body. That's why she had an X on her whole body. Now, if you watched the last video, remember I told you the last thing I was going to do before the Lord called me was the X Games. I had #1 coach in the world. He was already an X Game champion. I went out there to be coached by him. His cameraman, Cliff Birch, became my cameraman and worked with me and for me at Vlad Eyewear. He's the one that did the videos that we're doing for MTV and VH1. So I obviously was at the right place and on the right track to be #1 in the world. I already had #1 in the world cameraman. Sky surfing is a team. So all I had to do was continue on the path I was on, and I guaranteed would have been the X Games, and I don't know, whatever I would have won. But now I'm going to Grand Junction 17 years later with a big red X on my parachute. Hopefully you guys saw the last video. So now 1704 means I will walk in them and walk among them. I thought it was kind of interesting that right there I turned the lights on my helmet, whereas the previous picture, you can't see the lights on. Here they are, just looking right at you. Then the next picture is 1711. I turned the lights on red. And then 1711 means to multiply, to increase. And here's a scripture from Genesis 48:16. And Isaac, and let them grow into a multitude. Now, right now, that may not seem very significant to you, except the day that I did the video where I had my children in it, that the Lord had promised me 4 souls. Well, that night, the Lord told me to go open the Bible over on my table. And I opened up the Bible, and I believe it was Isaiah 50 and 51. And the header said, I will save your children. So the very same day I do the video about this is what the Lord promised me, the souls of 4 children. The very same day before I even produce the video, I open up a Bible and the header says, I will save your children. And the other header says, look to the rock. I'm the guy that showed everybody what the rock is. Upon this rock, I will found my church. I just keep doing that because that is the rock. Everything's upside down and backwards. So, anyway, so those were some very interesting things. There's a picture of the canopy. You can't see the X all the way. And you can see that the V for Vengeance, we'll get some cleaner shots on that the next time I go out and jump it. So anyway, I was just checking out the flight characteristics. It's a very fast canopy and all that. And so then we did a slideshow. Now, here's something very interesting. So the very same day I do that skydiving with the red X on the parachute, I was tired. There's a lot of adrenaline that happens when you're skydiving all day and when you're out at a drop zone and you're working on equipment. Even when you're going up in the plane trying to get your camera ready, the door is going to open. You got to be ready to go. And you're testing out cameras, you're testing out comm systems and all that. It's kind of a little bit of pressure. Okay, so after you do all that, after all this adrenaline surge, later in the day, you're kind of like, ah! It's like, you just, like a giant mosquito sucked everything out of you because you're spent. Your body And then another picture at 1704. Again, that means complete victory over your enemy, Abaddon. And 1704 in the Strongs means I will walk in them and walk among them. So that's Christ in you. And here I am jumping equipment for the Lord that says V for vengeance. It makes a right side up, upside down V, and it makes a big red X. That's pretty insanely impossible, don't you think? And then 1711, again, complete victory over your enemy, Abaddon, and it means to multiply and to increase, and that's because the harvest. Remember eating the fruit? He has multiplied and increased that which is him. That's what the harvest is. He's going to gather the wheat and put it in his barn. So I thought that was all really fascinating that he showed me that and to pay attention to it. And then I thought it was really weird to tell me to look up the number of the caravan 7581 because that's the number of the plane that was flying, caravan 7581 right there. And again, I thought it was very strange that the caravan was flying and not the twin-engine otter, because the otter really needed to be on the runway instead of the caravan. But, you know, a caravan of people that are going to get to leave here, that would be pretty appropriate. And it says the Lord will roar from Zion. And also, he is like, the sound of the Lord's voice is a roaring. So I thought that was pretty fascinating. Now, things got really fascinating when I went to watch Dark Phoenix. Now, I'd already been to Godzilla, and I was like, you got to be joking me. Godzilla starts with a bug coming out from a pyramid, and then all of a sudden it's a birthing. Oh, and there's all these cryptic numbers that mean a birthing, a bringing forth. Yeah, that's probably possible. So anyway, I wrote down those numbers and everything matched. So now I'm at X-Men and I'm thinking, okay, this is really interesting. By the way, the very first line in the movie, I think it's called Who Are We? That's Michael Spear out in Colorado. That's the name of his YouTube channel. So anyway, so I go to this movie, X-Men. Now let's start looking at it. So I go to this X-Men movie and let's see where we're at. Okay, here we are. So the X-Men Dark Phoenix, well, it's an X, and it's a female, and she's the Phoenix rising up for complete destruction. Well, guess what rises up at the same time? Yep, a bunch of aliens. Now, don't forget, the enemy likes to convolute things and call the good bad and the bad good. And they make the Dark Phoenix scroll the good one. And then there's these aliens that come up and they're the bad ones. It's literally exactly what I've been showing you in everything I do. You know, like Lurking Klaus wearing the hoodie. Take the hoodie off, turn it upside down. It's an alien. You know, like Madonna wearing a hoodie. Flip off the hoodie. It's like a bug coming out of a hatching situation. It's the same thing. Like Lurking Klaus. 400, hunted for dinner, hunting angels for dinner, bunch of girls with tattoos on their vaginas with mandibles right where their labia are. Yeah, you know, it's the same thing as the largest altar in the world's a big bug with the mandibles right where the labia are on the altar of St. Peter, with the penis ejaculating into the labia, which are mandibles of a bug. You know, it's probably nothing. I'm just going to lay it out there for you, just like that. So anyway, so here I am watching Dark Phoenix, and it's a girl, and she's come into her power. Let's look at Madonna. What's Madonna have in common with Dark Phoenix? Oh, they both are females, and they both have X's on them. Yes. Let's look at Jonathan's parachute. V for vengeance. What's the similarities? Well, Jonathan's parachute, it makes a big X and it says V for vengeance. There it is on Madonna, matches Madonna. I went ahead and took Madonna, and I had Dave the Wave put an X on her from the X Games, because we're about to see the X Games for real. The Mother Goddess Games. I think we're going to get to see a little blast. there's an X from V for Vengeance on her eye, and there's an X right on her chest. X Games. So I thought that was pretty impossible. Now, you want to see things get so absolutely impossible, you're going to freak out. Yeah. Okay. So where is the first container? It's in Grand Junction, which means the great coming together. What does the first container represent? What did I tell everybody? Well, the Lord said, write Revelation 3:10 on it, which means I will keep you from the hour of testing, which is the great tribulation. And it represents the bride of Christ, because the bride of Christ, the new Jerusalem, will be picked up and moved out of the way and won't be here for the horror that will ensue once the bride leaves. Once the bride gets pulled out, boom, beast is unleashed, all hell breaks loose, and there's death, doom, and destruction, because death, the X chromosome, the female mother goddess, death is birthing onto the planet. So they're going to kill any sheep. You're done for. If you have not been converted, or if you weren't ready, you will either die for your faith at a guillotine or at the hand of your own children or your family. Your worst enemies will be members of your own household. Children will rise against their parents and cause them to be killed. That's kind of weird. Can you imagine your own kids turning you in to get killed? It's because it's another creature from the pit that's born into all our families. That's why. Because they're really the eyes and the ears of the X chromosome bug thing from the pit, the locust from the pit. But they're going to come out, the pit's going to open, and here comes all these xenomorphs that are the ones that are really just running the above ground race. That's what's going on, and the Lord's let me prove it over and over again. Well, let's take a look at where the containers are, and let me show you something fascinating. So here's the containers, what they're going to look like. So remember this first container right here, over here to the right. This is the one that says Revelation 3:10. I'll go like this because that's the one that's there. So this one says Revelation 3:10. Well, it's got 4 blocks underneath it, 2 in the front, 2 in the back, and those are 4 by 4 by 4. 4 by 4 by 4 is perfect love. Now, when those got poured, I didn't, I did not know how. The Lord had not revealed to me how to look things up using the concordance. He said, I want those to be 4 by 4 by 4, and they have to be. And I was like, well, that's too much concrete, Lord. And he told me they have to be 4 by 4 by 4. I'm like, okay. So I called Mike and I said, hey, Mike, can I build these pretty big blocks in your yard? Did you know he had already planned on putting a swimming pool in his yard? But do you know what? 2 years before, him and his wife had sent me $444 as a contribution to the ministry. And I remember getting it, and I called him up and I was like, hey, well, that's really nice. Thank you very much. But what's the $444 all about? And he said, I don't know. The Lord just told me to send you $444. And so I said, wow, thank you very much. That's really generous. Thank you. He said, yeah. So then when the first container was under the threat of being taken from the property estate here in San Antonio, I needed a place to put it, and he wanted to put it in his driveway. Well, the Lord told me I want it in his backyard. Can you imagine calling up someone saying, hey, man, yeah, I need to put it in your backyard, and I need to build some really big concrete blocks in your yard. It's like, is there anything else I can get you, Mr. Clark? You know what it is? It's awkward. And so, but the Lord told me they had to be 4 by 4 by 4. So when I told him, he was like, and his wife was like, and they were like, oh, absolutely, you can put it in the yard now, because they were going to do a swimming pool. But when they heard 444, because that was the money they sent like a year and a half, 2 years previously, they knew it was the Lord. So they took the step of faith. They let me build the blocks that were 444. Perfect love. Mike looked it up, Bible meaning of 444. Didn't look it up in the concordance because the Lord hadn't even taught us that yet. So typed in Bible meaning of 444 and it says perfect love. I'll show you right now. So these blocks represent perfect love, and the bride of Christ is on a foundation of perfect love. Well, there's another container that's going to Grand Junction that's going to be right alongside of it, And this container is going to share this middle block right here. See that? So that's 444. But this block over here and the one in the back, I heard the Lord tell me, I want you to make that one 3 by 4 by 4, which means we don't have to dig down 2 feet into the ground and pour 2 feet, below ground, 2 feet above ground. We can just dig down 1 foot, so it can be 3 foot down, 4 foot wide, and 4 foot across, like a cube. So anyway, so I said, well, that's weird. So you want me to do 3 by 4 by 4? And I heard the Lord say yes. So I called Michael, and Michael was talking to some guy about doing the concrete. And the guy had said, yeah, is it possible we could use a little less concrete? And Michael said, well, I talked to Johnny, and he said 3 by 4 by 4, only, 3 down. And the guy was like, oh, great, that's going to be easier. Well, guess what? The Lord told me, look up the meaning of 344 in the Strong's Concordance. So now remember, perfect love, that's what those are. This container is going to rest on the corner of this one, so that it's going to be, and this container that's going there, the one that's out there, y'all have seen the videos, it represents the judgment seat of Christ. So the bride of Christ is sitting there. The judgment seat of Christ is going to go. The bride of Christ is on perfect love foundation. And the judgment seat is going to sit on the corner of one part that's perfect love. I wonder what 344 could possibly mean. Yeah, get ready. So I said, okay. And then the Lord said, look up 344 in the Strongs. Let me show you what 344 means in the Strongs. Well, you know what? Let me show you 444 first. So you see 444. Bible meaning of 444, and this is before we even use the Strongs. 444, you shall diligently keep all these commandments which I command you to do, to love the Lord your God and to walk in his ways. Perfect love, perfect love. John 4:18, 444. Okay, so the 444 blocks equal perfect love, and the 444 blocks are the foundation for the container that represents the bride of Christ, the New Jerusalem, because your foundation is perfect love. Cast out all fear. So now we have another block that's going to be 2 blocks, one here and one in the back, and that one's going to be 344. Well, let's look up 344 and what that means. I mean, guys, this is not even comprehensible almost. It means to turn back, to return. I return. I will return again to you. I will return to you. I will return. Isn't it odd that the next 2 blocks, that the judgment seat of Christ shipping container that's going to Grand Junction, what do you think the odds are that those blocks are going to mean I will return, and that thing represents the judgment seat of Christ? Well, I guess Christ would have to return to get the bride. Explosion! Oh my gosh. Oh, it gets better. It just keeps getting better. Well, you remember that these 2 containers, where are they at the corner? They're at the corner of Rainbow and Casimir. Okay, well, y'all know what Casimir means, right? It means proclamation of peace, and it means to destroy an opponent's prestige in battle. So the street Casimir means proclamation of peace. So the street means street peace, street of peace, street of proclamation of peace, or the street of to destroy the prestige of another king in battle. That's what Casimir means. Well, did you know that when I went to the X-Men movie and the Dark Phoenix Rises, and it's a female energy, and there's aliens that are part of it, and there's everything I've been showing you is in this movie? Did you know that the movie ends at the corner of this outdoor French cafe, and Charles Xavier's there, and Magneto, the young guy, and they've always had differences on how to deal with the humans, but they come to a point to where there's a meeting of the minds, let's say. Well, Charles Xavier is sitting at an outdoor cafe. He's sitting at an outdoor cafe, and he's left as being the X-Men boss because he was the guy that ran the school, for all the X-Men. And now he's left his position and he's all by himself. He's got really nowhere to go. He's got nobody and nothing anymore. And he's just sitting at this cafe at this corner. And here comes Magneto. And Magneto walks up with a chess set. Did you know that the Lord told me to put a chess set in that first container that's in Grand Junction? It's documented. It's in a video that's already on YouTube. I already told y'all. I documented it. And the Lord told me to put this chess set here. He told me to put the Black King down. And he told me to put an hourglass on the chess set. I did what he said. You know what? In this X-Men movie, at the very end of the movie, Charles is sitting here. Here comes Magneto. He's like, hey, old friend. And he's like, what's up? And he said, what are you doing here? He said, I just came to see you. And he goes, you want to play a game of chess? And Charles is like, no, not really. He goes, let's have one game for old time's sake. And I'm thinking, that is insane. I have a chess set in the container that's in Grand Junction. And in the movie, The Dark Phoenix Rising, literally judgment comes. It's a judgment thing. You'll have to watch it yourself. And the aliens are trying to capture this energy that's just like fire. It's an energy, and they're trying to capture it and control it. Like the Spirit of the living God, all-consuming fire. They're trying to capture it and control it. So, when they're sitting there, Magneto pulls out his hand and he goes, pick a hand, like what chess piece? And he picks one and he opens up and it's a white pawn. Right then the camera, and he says to Charles, he says these words. Charles says, well, why are you here? Like, why'd you show up in France and find me? And he says these words. He said, well, there was a time when you saved my life and you gave me a place to live. I just want to do the same for you. And I'm sitting there like, because Jesus saved our life and he's giving us a place to live. Home, heaven. And I'm sitting there just going, this is crazy. And then the camera goes like this and it pans up. And it goes to the name of the street that they're sitting on. Don't forget, now we're in the X-Men. I've got an X on my canopy. Madonna's got a big X on her. And now the camera goes up and shows you the name of the street that this all happens at. Let me show you the name of the street. So don't forget, the container's at the corner of Casimir and Rainbow. Casimir means Proclamation of Peace Street. Let me show you the name of the street in the movie where they're sitting down. Rue de la Paix, Peace Street. So everything ends at Peace Street in the X-Men movie. I'm like, you can't even think this up. I was like, what? So they're sitting at this corner cafe, and it says Rue de la Paix. And I don't speak French, so I don't know if I pronounce that right. Rue de la Paix. And that's the same as Casimir. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, it gets better. I was like, what the heck? And so I type into Google Rue de la Paix, and it brings up this in French. So this is my search. This is the very first thing I clicked on. It says Ravi de Malboussine, Rue de la Paix. I think that's close to right. And I'm like, I'll hit Google Translate. So I hit Google Translate to tell me what this means. And it says, arrival of Malboussine, Street of Peace. Now we have arrival. And I'm like, Malboussine, what is Malboussine? Well, let me show you these emails I've been getting from I've been getting from the skateboard shot Zoomies. They keep sending me all these watches. I put it in one of the videos. They keep sending me watches, and I'm like, wow, that's the energy from the pit. And look at what number is this on? So I'm looking at this. What number are they trying to cryptically hide here? Well, did you know what? I pulled into my neighborhood and there's a big sign up selling some high dollar watch. And I looked up at it and I'm like, wow, that's like the same number. That's the same. It looks like the hands are in the same position. And then I went, you know what? I have another ad from Zoomies where they sent me some watches and I showed them to you in a video and the numbers were significant right here. But they sent me one that was like, there it is. They sent me this one right here. And I was like, wait a minute. That looks like it's like 10, 10 maybe, but look at that. If you look closely, that's like 10, 11. If this is 10, this would be 11, wouldn't it? So depending on how you count these, and if you went this way, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, that would be 9, 11. And I just thought that is so strange that these different watches, it would be pointing like that and it would be like cryptically saying 9/11. And they made the hands off just enough to make it to where it could be 9/11. Or are they trying to show you 10 and then a 10? So I decided to type into Google Images a very broad search. I typed into Google Images. I'm going to show you my Google image search, and prepare to fall out of your chair right now. This is my Google image search. Look what it says. Watch face with numbers. Look at this one. 10, 10. Look at this one. The same thing. It's like 10. That's 9/11. Wait a minute. That's like 9/11. Oh my gosh. This one's at 10 and then it's at 10, 10, or is it? And then I'm like, well, are they trying to say 10 in the number 2? 10 in the number 2? Because they're obviously, look at all the watches on a Google image search. They're all the same. 10 and 2, 10 and 2, 10 and 2, 10 and 2, 10 and 2. Look at this. 10 and 2, 10 and 2, 10 and 2. That's 10 and almost 4. 10 and 2, 10 and 3, 10 and 2. So what is going on here? Why are they all 10 and 2? Look at that. Cryptically 9/11 on all these watches, and the billboard right here on the highway is exactly the same. And I'm like, that is not coincidence. So cryptically they're saying 9/11, the angel of the bottomless pit, but it's a watch. What does a watch do? It keeps time. From the time that watches were invented, keeping time, just like it would take time for those locusts to hatch. And I heard the Lord say, look up 10 to 102. Look up 102. I know I documented everything. Now let me show you what happened. Remember the video clip that I showed you of my children that the Lord had promised me? Okay, remember? I showed y'all the little slideshow. The Lord told me to do that for my kids. Well, let me tell you something. I have quite a few computers. Did you know my scanner's not working? Well, so I thought, well, Lord, I got to do all these pictures of my kid. I took them out of the kids. I took them out of the photo album. And I went over to Kinko's, and I know people at Kinko's, and I have a relationship with them. And I went over there, and I thought, hey, can you guys scan these for me, and I'll just pay you to do it? And they were really busy, and they said, Johnny, we couldn't have them for probably 2 days, but you can do them over there on one of our machines. So I started on the machines, but there's so many steps that I thought I'll be here for days. I'll be here for 3 hours trying to do this because there's too many steps for each picture. And so I just said, guys, thanks a lot. And I grabbed all my pictures and I left. And I went over to a place called the Dub King in San Antonio. And they used to make all my DVDs that I used to send out all over the world for free. And I went over there and I said, hey, can you guys scan these pictures? I need to do a little slideshow. And they told me, well, they'll be ready on Monday, which was like 4 days away. And then they called me the very next day and they said, we have your pictures ready. And I thought, wow, random. They got them ready like instantly. I thought it was going to be like several days. So I went straight away and I picked them up and I did the little video for you guys the other day where I gave you the testimony and I showed you this is what the Lord told me. He promised me 4 souls. And yeah, look at all these insane coincidences. Well, when I went over there, they had a receipt for me right here. See, it says Dub King. The guy said, would you like your receipt? And I said, no, I don't need it. He says, are you sure you don't want it? I said, you know what? I don't need it. I don't need it for anything. And so he said, okay. And I walk out the Dub King and I get in my truck and I hear the Lord say, go back in and get the receipt. And I'm thinking, really? What do I need to go back in and get the receipt, Jonathan? And I'm like, oh man, awkward. So I get out of my truck, I walk back in, I'm like, yeah, you know what? I will take that receipt. He had to go get in the trash and pull it out, and he gave me the receipt. And so I'm like, okay, Lord, I got the receipt. What's up with the receipt? And the Lord said, look, you see the number 5358? Look it up. So now I'm going, you really want me to look up the number 5358, what it costs for the slideshow of my children, because I know what everything's about now. This whole world, this whole thing, you know what it's about? God is going to take vengeance on those that took his children. He is going to avenge his children. And if you've been adopted, you're one of God's children now. But you were carried away captive and you were turned into a child of the devil. And now he's going to take vengeance on everyone that didn't turn, and he's going to take vengeance on everyone that was part of it. Well, the Lord told me to look up 5358, but remember the day I did the slideshow, the Lord told me, I want you to open up the Bible over there on your counter. And I opened it up and it said, look to the rock and I will save your children. Can you imagine if you were me and you had just put together this slideshow of your children and the Lord told you go open the Bible and you opened up and you saw a header that said, look to the rock. I'm the guy that showed everybody what the rock is. And then it said, I will save your children. And you just were showing the whole YouTube audience, this is what the Lord promised me the night I got saved. He would save the souls of 4. And I have 4 children. I mean, for me on a personal level, it was like, you can't even believe it. It's mind-blowing. Well, watch this. So we're God's children and he saves us. And the Lord told me, look up the receipt number in the Strong's Concordance, what it means, the slideshow of your children. Look up the meaning of that number in the Bible, and I'll show you what I'm going to do. It means to avenge, to take vengeance. I will avenge sevenfold, and at his hand they shall surely be punished. To avenge, to avenger, avenging, exact, execute, punish, take revenge, take vengeance, take vengeance shall be taken. And it's a slideshow of me laying down my life for the souls of 4 children. And the Lord God laid down his life for the souls of all his children. That's why I have a parachute that says V for vengeance. Right side up, upside down, makes a big X. My mind is literally everything at the drop zone was significance. Everything in the containers has become significant. The tidal wave covering the Statue of Liberty, which represents licentious freedom, female mother goddess. Everything is starting to add up to exact perfection now. And now we know why. God's children were carried away captive. And he's coming to exact revenge on all those that participated and didn't turn back to him with their whole heart. You didn't take the free gift of God, which is eternal life. You were never adopted back into his family. You remained part of the devil's family, and he's coming to take vengeance on that entire system. You can't even think this up. Okay, I told him I would get this video out tonight. I'm not really even feeling very well. Yeah, y'all pray for me. I'm got some stuff going on. Anyway, so yeah, I'm just trying to trudge through it and make it to the finish line. Anyway, guys, there it is. V for vengeance. Now let's go over this folder real quick. Let's just look at the pictures. I'm just going to go through the pictures all in a row now. I'll just read the titles. Okay, so here we go. Let's just go up. Here we go. Okay, so you guys already saw the stuff with Ian and the Bud Light commercial. You saw the Sistine Chapel's a big face of a dragon. Here's a protest against Trump when he went to England. This was mowed into the grass. And this was mowed into the grass. Now remember, the female chromosome's 2X. Look at this. It's a testicles and penis. Look, X, X. Look at the tip of the penis, 2X. Told you. That's what the system that's coming against God's children is, to the 2X system. There's Madonna. She's got an X on her eye and an X on her chest. I put the X from the X Games. There's the watches that are coming to me from Zoomies. Look at them. That's a dimensional thing, the way they got the little wavy lines. It's the same thing, the 10 and the 10, 9/11. Same thing, Angel of the Bottomless Pit, 9/11. There's a rendering of the containers. Here's the first thing we looked up for the first 2 blocks that were 4x4x4, perfect love. So this container's sitting on a base that's perfect love. It's going to share one of those blocks that's perfect love with the next container, which means I will return. This container represents the bride of Christ. This container represents the judgment seat of Christ. The bride of Christ is on perfect love. The judgment seat of Christ will rest on perfect love, and I will return. I mean, guys, are y'all getting this? I mean, this is real. This is happening. This is not some surreal dream. These are facts. And the Lord had me document all the facts. So the other container will rest on perfect love, and I will return. Casimir means proclamation of peace. It's also a street. So the name of the street, proclamation of peace. And rainbow, which was a covenant. The Lord said, as I made a covenant with Noah, which was a rainbow, so I will make a covenant with you of everlasting peace. Casimir. There's my canopy, V for vengeance, right there. And then in the X-Men movie, which X is the same as my canopy, it ends at the corner of the street, Rue de la Paix, which means P Street, which is identical to Casimir. These watches that have been being sent out, I typed a Google search in just for a watch face with numbers. Almost every single one of them was 10:10 or not, or cryptically 9:11. Look at that. That's 9:11. That's 9:11. That's 9:11. But also 102, it means to form an army, a band, a troop. I form a troop, an army. Who forms a troop? The angel of the bottomless pit. I typed into Google Rue de la Pax and it says arrival. It said it in French, Arrivée de Maboussine, Rue de la Pax. Maboussine is a company that makes watches. What do you think the Lord's trying to tell us? That time's up. Rue de la Pax, I mean, arrival of Maboussine at Street of Peace. You can't even think this up. And there's a picture of the Street of Peace. And then look at the common denominators. My parachute. V for vengeance. Madonna. X on her. X on my parachute. X-Men. Phoenix Rising. Female. Mother Goddess. V for vengeance. There's my little children representing what the Lord God did for us. He saved his little children. And the number on the receipt for the slideshow for my children was to take vengeance, because God's going to take vengeance on those that took his kids. And then the Lord told me to open the Bible, look to the rock, I will save your children. There's my testimony. You can't even think this up. Okay, I'm going to leave this with you guys, and I'm going to just take a little break. Hopefully everything will start feeling a little better. That diverticulitis thing and all that's starting to kind of flare up a little bit. All right, guys, God bless you and peace and grace. Okay, group hug. I love you guys. Peace and grace. God bless you and God keep you. Make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you and give you peace. Amen. All right.